Hello, listeners. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Lindsay Nahmiache, an entrepreneur, operator, and investor, currently sits at the intersection of brand growth and ownership. Lindsay is the CEO of Veriphy Skincare, as well as the founder and CEO of Jive PR and Digital. Lindsay also serves on the board of Songtradr, where she previously was Chief Marketing Officer, guiding global growth at the intersection of music, tech, and licensing. And across everything she does, as an operator, board member, investor, CEO, Lindsay focuses on one core idea: building strong brands through clarity, discernment, and mindset-driven growth. And today we get into kind of how that actually works and how Lindsay has built her path through facing discomfort and through finding time to think, and especially to get lost and to have some fun along the way. So I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I did. Welcome to the Live Fearlessly podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Benjamin Ritter, and it's time to get fearless. So, Lindsay, it is great to connect and to meet. I'm excited about our conversation. And I noticed on your LinkedIn profile that one of the passions that you have is getting lost in cities. So as a world traveler myself, I just got back from Oaxaca for Dios de Muertos. And I'd love to hear, where was the last city you got lost in?
Where was I by myself? Getting lost to me is when I get to be by myself roaming streets. And the last one I did where I was actually on my own was Seville, that I think I pronounce it Sevilla, but in Spain. Um, and it's just magical just going in and out of the streets and picking a restaurant or picking a shop or something like that. I'm actually flying to Argentina and Rio in 3 weeks, and I'm doing the same thing in Rio. I'm there by myself for 3 days, and I'm just so excited to explore it and have no agenda and just see where it takes me.
Okay, I find it incredible when people travel alone and then just get lost and just go where the day takes them. This may be like a weird question, but it's like, is there a structure or plan that you use to get lost? Like,
It's like, for me, I mean, no, I usually know that I'm gonna be in a certain area or old town or whatever it might be, and I know I'll eat at some point or I'll stop, and I usually try to have a book with me, and I'll sit at a coffee shop and read a book, or I'll walk into boutiques, or I'm not a big shopper, but I find, like, when I leave my country and I go somewhere else, I like to shop all of a sudden, so just see where I roam into and yeah, and just kind of go with, like, okay, but look, get an intersection, like, do I go left or right? And I feel where I feel, and I go that way, and it's always been it's fun.
wow. It sounds like you have time. You're not rushing in explorer mode, but then you have like, I know I need to eat, so I'm gonna have a stop there. I know I'm in this general vicinity and area that I want to explore. Then maybe I have a book so I can slow down. That is amazing. Do you remember the first time that you got lost and realized that that was something that you wanted to include in your travels?
I don't know if it was the first time it happened, but because I just used to do it and not clock it, but I remember the
Mm.
first time where I actually sat somewhere and I was just like, "This is awesome, and I need to make a habit of this." I was in Sydney, Australia. I was going for I lived in London for a few years before that, but a friend was getting married, and I flew in, and I had, like, a day by myself, and as I was walking on the streets, I'm like, "Why am I so happy?" Like, just that ridiculous, like, just nothing could throw me off my happiness train. It was like the sun was shining, like, everyone I passed, I thought they were beautiful. I was, like, smiling at baby, like, it was just one of those moments, and I was like, "I always get like this when I'm discovering a new city by myself." Like, don't get me wrong, I like traveling with people, but when I'm by myself walking the streets, I'm just able to appreciate it more 'cause I'm, having a conversation with myself about it as I go forward or thinking about whatever I need to think about. So, it was in the Sydney one that I said, "Okay, I need to make this a habit." And I'll even do it locally now, like, actually over the break, try to take a solo day or 2 break over the holidays and I went down to Del Mar in California, which I'd never been before. And same thing. I'm just like, what do I feel like doing? I'm like, okay, I'll go down to the beach. Okay, I'm gonna grab a coffee. Okay, I'm gonna have dinner at 3:30 in the afternoon because that's what I want. And then, just started to do things that way. So I think it's just for me, it's such a refuel.
I have a list of all of your accomplishments. So people might be listening to this and be like, Lindsay must be retired. Lindsay must work for United Airlines and just have free flight benefits everywhere. Like, no, Lindsay has a very, very long resume of incredible things and awards. And and so like, people listening to this and be like, how do you make time for that? How do you create space for that?
Yeah, for like you and I have a young son. So I prioritize. It's not like I'm doing it every single month. I'm going away and discovering a city on my own. It's just usually like 2 to 3 times a year, and sometimes it'll be at the beginning of a work trip where I'm going somewhere and I decide to take a day, the beginning or the end to do that. And it's just a matter of priorities. I also find it really good for business because the amount of ideas that I get when I'm doing these little walkabouts is crazy. Like, even just this recent one in Del Mar, I was just like, "Oh, you know what? I need to restructure this launch that we're doing like this and XYZ." And I'm writing it down on my notepad. And so I get ideas that come to me, so it ends up being good for business, but you gotta schedule it.
In that thinking time, or shower thoughts. I think this year has been for me the year of creating more moments for shower thoughts that are not in the shower. So
Yeah.
like a sauna, cold plunge, walkabouts, like you said, just like midday walks, and really taking control of my schedule to build really nice buffers in between to or bookending trips or the middle of trips, whatever it is. If we don't plan it, it doesn't happen. But like, what are some of the other things that now we're on this topic, that you found to be important for you to like, gonna be the leader, to be the business owner, to be, and by the way, listeners, it's like USA Enterprising Woman of the Year, Canada's 100 most powerful women, top 40 under 40. Like, there's some accolades here, to say the least. You've heard them in the bio when I did the intro. But so what have you found that you have to have the level of success or to have the mindset you need to be able to win like you are?
Um, my mornings, like my mornings. So I have a son, so he wakes up for school around like 6:30, and we're game on, go time. But I wake up at 5, and again, like that's not a flex. Like, oh, I'm part of this 5 club, but like I wake up at 5, so I have that 60 to 90 minutes by myself every single day. And it's just like I don't care if I mean, listen, I care if I eat healthy and stuff like that, but like I would rather bust any diet than miss my morning time because it's where I get all of my energy for the day, the inspiration. I always say I brainwash myself. Like, I will read books and passages of things that are just bombarding me with like possibility, potential, all like I don't care how delusional it is. I do it every single day. Um and it helps. Like, it's like you can't take in that much good content on a regular basis and not have good output.
So during the morning, you're waking up at 5 and you're positivity brainwashing. Is
Yeah.
that
Yeah, and I
yeah.
mean, like, I'll do a meditation, and sometimes it's a good meditation, sometimes it's a bad one where I'm thinking about a million things, but I'm not some hero, I'm not doing hour-long meditations, it's like 10, 15 minutes, sit there in, like, silence, just, try and calm my thoughts. Then, yeah, exactly, brainwashing myself with positive content of some sort, like listening to a podcast, reading a book, but whether it's a business book, an inspirational book, whatever it might be. um, Usually I have, like, I call it, Napoleon Hill's, like, Think and Grow Rich. He talks about this, having this internal council or internal board members, and I have that. Like, I will sit there in the morning and, like, have random conversations with people about, like, the business decisions that I'm going through or what we need to do or like, and throw big questions out there. Where am I not thinking big enough? And it's crazy the amount of
Mhm.
insight that will come to me through just asking direct questions. So, people can call it woo woo, but it's not woo. To me, it's like an essential part of business, and everyone has it. They just need to know how to tap into it.
Yeah, I want to promote this ideology that 30 minutes of self-talk time in the morning towards with question prompts that a world-renowned coach would ask, that isn't based in judgment, but is more based in just challenging your thought processes, pushing you to be uncomfortable. Is what if we all do it, we can. I mean, it's like the sky's the limit, or the universe is the limit.
Yeah, and I think, like, I always give myself random 21-day challenges, right? I'll sit there and be like, "Okay, 21 days of asking myself this question every day," or
Mm.
20, and I'll just randomly do it, and I, like, tick something, and I've got this really easy thing that I'm just like, tick now the days, and you just gotta force yourself to and have fun with it. I gamify it like it's a game, and then it's, it becomes consistent.
Okay, so we have the morning. We're brainwashing ourselves to be more positive. We're sitting with ourselves and asking and like the tough questions to our internal board. That is like that in itself, I think would be a game changer for a lot of our listeners. But let's say like they get told to go do something. But how do you then take action towards things that maybe are a little uncomfortable or you might be a little bit afraid of, or maybe it's a little risky? And because a lot of us know what we want to do, we know we want to change. It's
Mm.
just changing, which is the hard part.
Yeah, I mean, so listen, like, you could get some weird ideas that come into your head. I get that. So I think it's using discernment. That's like my number one word is just figuring out like, okay, where is this coming from? What's motivating it? But people usually know what they want to do or what they should be doing to get them to their goal. Um, and then I think it's just like goals seem so ridiculously big when we make them about the final outcome. And, like, that's why I like these 21-day challenges. So if it's just like, okay, 21 days that I don't know, say someone's goal is to write a book. I mean, I haven't written a book, but, like, I would say, I need to write for 15 minutes for 21 days in the morning before 6:30 AM, and I could write just like blah, 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 blah. That's fine, at least my fingers are typing and I'm doing what I need to do. And you just kind of, like, small chunk it out like that, but something grabs hold. I haven't met anyone that I've talked to about doing this that's tried it, that hasn't had that take hold moment where they're just like, "You know what? All of a sudden, like, maybe I didn't do this, but this other idea came," or I met so and so who did this, and it's not gonna and that so it starts moving you, and it might not move you in the exact direction that you think you're going, um, but it moves you somewhere.
And movement creates momentum. Momentum, creates learning, and all of a sudden now you've created serendipity, and you're exactly where you need to be. It's just
Exactly.
difficult to know unless you're going somewhere. It's difficult to actually, well, this is just gonna sound so just not like it's just a tongue twister. Unless you're going somewhere, you're not gonna get anywhere. And this sounds like you're pushing yourself.
Yeah, and you can
So
chunk it down less. You
yeah,
don't do 21 days, do 1 week. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Say
What's something that you've challenged yourself with recently, or want to challenge yourself with in the near future?
right now I'm doing it's dry January, so I'm doing a no alcohol January, which I don't remember. I'm not a huge drinker, but the last time that I've not had like a glass of wine on the weekends and stuff like that. So I'm doing dry January. It's helpful that it's January because other people are doing it, so it's easier. So I'm riding a wave of people doing dry January. In December, my thing was to extend my meditation and make them silent meditations. I used to be doing these 15-minute guided meditations. I'm like, no, I just want to sit in silence and extend it for 5 minutes. Um, so for the month of December, I did 20-minute silent meditations. Um, and, like, just little things like that, like, I just take one little thing that I tweak, and then afterwards, if I go back and I'm like, "No, I wanna do a guided meditation," that's fine, but I challenge myself to get that point. I'm not gonna I'm going to Argentina at the end of January. I'm gonna have a glass of wine, like, I'm not doing this to be dry January forever, and I'm gonna be so but just to challenge myself to see what comes in that process as I'm going, and it's been great, like, it's day 5, and I have not slept this well every single night, and I can't tell you, like, I it's wild, and I didn't again, I wasn't a huge drinker, but my sleep is just it's so much deeper. I'm having so many dreams, like, I never had dreams before, so
And how have these challenges then, maybe they don't, relate to the like professional world that you're in? Because I want to talk a little bit more about that. I mean, It's hard to be a founder. It's hard to build a brand. It's hard to leave what people would say are the kind of traditional cubicle, the traditional cubicle world that I used to live in. And so, like, when you think about the challenges that you faced professionally, I'd love just what's really resonating for you. And then I'd like to talk a little bit more about kind of that path that you've been on.
Yeah, the great question. So, first of all, I think the things that you do in your personal life, so whether it's like a dry January or more meditation, that all trickles down into the professional stuff. So it's not that, oh, you're just helping your personal life, like that helps your professional life as well. It gives you a muscle of resilience, it gives you a muscle of patience, like so much impact there. But what I'll do sometimes is I'll be like, okay, like, so for instance, we have this thing right now, doing again, like 21-day challenge on creating a sales process in the agency. Like, we've never done sales. We've never had a salesperson. We've just always been reactive, word of mouth. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, it's 2026. We've been around for so long. We need an actual systematized sales process, and we need to bring someone in to do sales. So it's not, and so again, I just chunked it into 21 days and I mean, I have a team now, right? So I'm able to designate, okay, Megan, you're going to create the training materials, record your calls, do this, um, get your marketing person to do. So we're able to balance it out. But 21 days for me to design it, oversee it, write it, and make sure it's getting done. Um, and it's the same approach.
And having that level of dedication, I don't like the word willpower, commitment, the level of commitment to yourself in your personal life. It'd be hard not to translate to your professional life. I have I have sometimes seen it not transfer the other way, like very dedicated, committed professionally, not translating over personally. I think there's some value in this alignment there, but it's a nice example of how, oh, these 21-day challenges work in my personal life. We use that same process in our professional life. And so maybe listeners, it's if you have something that works in either of those buckets, can you leverage that strength and that preference that you don't have that your mind likes, and then use it just in that other bucket to create progress and to create growth?
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm. So how did you get on the path that you're in? Can we go in the time machine, go back in time, start off in the beginnings of your career where, I can just go through LinkedIn. Yeah. What, like when those milestone moments, I'd love to hear some of them because generally they're filled with learnings and values.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I was fortunate that my mom, when I was really young, was a single mom and a flight attendant. And so this was like pre 9/11. And if she couldn't get someone to watch me, she would just bring me on the flights with her. And so I grew up just being exposed to other cultures and traveling. And it was part of my DNA. And so because of that, when I graduated high school, I ended up, going to Europe, and then I ended up living there for 4 years, and I waitressed for the Rolling Stones at a restaurant, and then I worked at E Entertainment, and then I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna go backpack India." And then when I went to India, I ended up working in Bollywood, their film industry there for 2 years and getting, like, a very high trajectory, shoot up a career ladder, in what I got access to and what I was able to do for them, and so then I came back to North America and, like, no one not no one, but, like, I remember I applied for at Coca-Cola, and I went through interviews with them, and they were just like, "Well, you've had international experience," and I'm with it, like, "You're an international brand," but, like, I couldn't get a job. And so I started out of just necessity doing little projects. So I was, like, working with Indian companies and sending music videos between India and North America, and then one thing led to another, and I started getting more clients that way, and then I met a business partner, and then we set up this agency together because 'cause I'd never been to, I'd never done PR. That was the agency that we set up originally, and I'd never been to school for that, but she had. But I was like, "Okay, well, I can bring in business, you do this," and then one thing led to another, and we had some defining moments. Like, Richard Branson was one of our first clients for Virgin, and it was, those are things you can't script. Um, and then I'm in Los Angeles now. We opened an office in LA, and then things grew from here, and then one of our clients ended up buying us, and then I became the CMO of this global music tech company, and then I couldn't do that, and so I could do that, but it was really painful for me to go from being a founder to an executive, and so I resigned from there and I bought a skincare company, and then I ended up buying the agency back from them, and I mean, it's not like I sat there, I mean, like, "These are all the things that I'm gonna do, check, check, check." I just kind of moved with life as it happened, um, but always knew that, like, freedom's important for me and growth is important to me, and I get both of those things through what I do. Now, I work more than any normal person works, but to me, like, work and my personal life is quite intertwined, so it doesn't feel like I'm a workaholic. I spend tons of time with my son, I get to go on holidays and do all that stuff, but, yeah, I run 2 businesses, so I'm always online.
No, it's, it's just like it's so funny. I think chuckling because it's like yada yada yada. Worked with Richard Branson. Yada yada yada. Sold a company. Yada. It's like skipping over all like a lot of hard work and a lot of energy and effort and output and decisions. And there are just humans like yourself that can, it sounds like, operate at just a very high level to the point where you can run 2 businesses, have free time. So the value for freedom for you is different than other people because you've created freedom through a different operating model because of how you can operate and what you've chosen to do and what you've committed to. I'd love to hear about some of those other values. Like you mentioned freedom and growth. Like what do those really mean for you professionally and if it's different personally?
So, great question. I think that, like, I look at business as personal growth. Like, I'm always into where can I expand and optimize? And that's not from a place of shame of I'm not good enough. It's just from a place of like, this is an awesome life. We have one. Like, what else can I try? And I fail a lot, right? Like that quick summary was like the highlight reel. Like there has been a lot, a lot of failures, a lot of pain, a lot of like financial crises, like, there's, there it's all sorts, but after doing it for a while, you just see that things are just kind of blips in the like, you're gonna go down and you're gonna go up, and then you're gonna go down and then you're gonna go up. But I see business as personal growth, and, the 2 are intertwined. That is why that morning routine of what just sounds like, "Oh, you're just doing things to feel good personally." Yes, and that helps me do everything I do professionally as well, because when I am high energy and able to do things, like, everything around just clicks more or resonates more.
You've learned how to achieve the things you need to professionally by doing the things you need to personally. And I guess so you got traction through your company. You found a co-founder. What led to one of like some of those milestone moments, like the Branson moment, or what would you say is the thing that kind of kept you going to find those successes?
I mean, I wish I could script them, like, do them over and over.
Yeah.
That, I think that listen, I have some things in my life where it's like I can see the preparation and the grit and the focus that I had on them to achieve them, and I can see that path. And then there's other things in my life, like the the Richard Branson one. So social media was just launching for businesses. This was 2008, 2009. Um, and I was young. And so I walked into their head office, um, and just made it sound like I knew social a lot more than I did for businesses, right? Like, I mean, I knew it, but like you kind of go in there and you're just like, well, and the people in the room were in their 50s and I was in my 20s, right? So I was just saying things that I was doing personally online, and they're just like, "Okay, yeah." And I'm like, "Yeah, we can apply it to the business like this, we can apply it like that." And you just kind of talk, and then you left, and you were probably up against a whole bunch of other people, and they chose me. And I think at that point, probably the international experience helped, because I'd lived in London, I'd lived in India, and then I'd come back here. Like, it was that probably had some weight on it. Um, and then it was an opportunity. So those things like that, you can't script, but that's where I feel like if you can not perfect yourself, but if you can focus on yourself personally, like those meditations, just positive, whatever it can be, when you get into a room, we're all just people, right? So people are reading energy and they're feeling what they align
Yeah.
with. You feel like you're like, oh, you're an interesting person, or oh, you seem grounded, or you seem like you got ambition. Like people choose that, right? They're not gonna choose to work on us just based on our client list. They're gonna choose to work on you based on who you are, who's in that room. So those are the moments that I can't necessarily script, but they happened and they were a huge change. Even the company that bought us.
Mm.
Like, I remember meeting the founder in a very different situation. It was, through like a entrepreneurs association, and we just started talking, and I wasn't trying to sell our services at that point. We were just talking and I was helping him with what he was doing. They were growing really fast. I'm like, "Oh, you should do this. Maybe don't do that. Like, don't hire us, but like just do," and I was just giving him free advice. And he's like, "I'd love to hire you guys." I'm like, "No, I don't want your business." He goes, "No, no, I really," I'm like, "We don't work in the music industry." He's like, "No, no, I really want your," I was like, "Okay." And so that one thing leads to another, and it was timing.
Yeah.
They were growing really, really fast. They're international. They needed more scale, and so those are the things that, yes, everything compounds to get you there, but that's why I think if you start with yourself, like, your business is a reflection of yourself, and when your business doesn't grow, it's also a reflection of your blocks. Like, I'll sit there and say, "My business is plateauing, this is terrible." I'm like, "What is going on with me that I am,
Mm.
like, not able to give it the space to grow?"
Yeah. How do I grow my business? Some other ideas, like from what you're saying, don't build in a silo. And one chance isn't the only chance. And if you put yourself in enough situations, your story will eventually create a win. And then I talk to a lot of people that are looking for jobs that have really unique backgrounds, or leaders that are, you feel like they have to become something that they're gonna, not that they're trying to mold into an organization's culture or to a leader where it just isn't healthy for them. And it's like, okay, so you think that your options are limited. You're acting from a mindset of scarcity instead of abundance. You can find your home, but you have to go traveling to go find it. Like it's not just going to show up on your doorstep one day unless you're creating those opportunities for yourself. Like, you're going and having those conversations with people, or you're putting yourself and you're pitching to places where maybe there are people competing, but someone's going to resonate with who you are and what you're bringing and how you're showing up. And I bet your pitches got better and better over time,
Yeah.
and you learned what to say and how to say it. Um,
Yeah, exactly,
yeah.
and I think, like, to add to that is, like, not everyone is built the same as well, right? Like, so not everyone's good at or wants to go out and network and talk to a whole bunch of people and do that, and that's fine. Like, know where you stand or where you don't stand, and maybe writing is your thing and you feel better behind the screen.
Mm.
Like, so write and push yourself to post, but don't get on video if you don't wanna be on video, but just do something to be yourself, and I think that that's, like, my number one lesson is, like, when people try, like you said, try to fit into a corporate culture that they don't, try to mold themselves in order to keep that job or what have you, like, that never works long term. Either they're gonna get fired or they're gonna make themselves sick, right? Like, you can't shape yourself to fit someone else's hole. You know,
Mm.
you gotta be yourself and you will figure out the right hole for you. And but yes, it takes a little bit of bravery and a little bit of self-trust, which you talk about. But that's like the number one skill. Like that's the number one skill that should be taught at schools. Like, I'm my son is 8 and I am struggling with the school system because they are teaching fine, they're teaching okay stuff, but they're not teaching any of these core attributes that make people like strong characters, which in turn helps them figure out and adjust to what the world like. So that same thing is
Yeah.
you got to develop that self trust muscle.
Yeah. If you trust yourself, you're willing to take risks. If you're willing to take risks, you're willing to put yourself in situations that will help you learn and grow. You'll know that you're missing a certain skill and go learn it instead of be afraid and think that you're not good enough because of it. Like
Yeah.
it's foundational.
And I think that like the biggest reframe for me that helped me be okay with it is I used to be and still sometimes suffer from it, so scared of rejection. Like if an employee quit, I felt rejected, or if like a client fired us, like I felt like rejection, if we didn't make a pitch. And now I'm like, how can I like get excited for rejection? Like, please reject me.
Mm.
And it's so weird to think like that. But now I literally will approach something that's going to scare me and being like, this is great. Let's see how I can get rejected. And it does something internally that then you've already like taken on the rejection, even though you haven't. And it's changed the game for me. If I could teach
Yeah.
that skill to everyone, I would.
Yeah, if you're not afraid of being rejected, maybe you're not putting yourself in uncomfortable situations enough.
Yeah, and so it's good to have a
Yeah.
fear of rejection, but then it's good to twist it and be like, "I'm not scared of being rejected," because sometimes that
Mhm.
rejection limits people too much. So I think it's
Mhm.
yeah, it's just how you reframe and look at it.
Well, if our listeners want to hear some more of this wisdom and follow your journey, how can they learn more about you?
My personal musings are more on LinkedIn. So Lindsay Nahmiache, which is a very difficult last name, I know, but I'm sure you'll have it in the show notes. But
Yep.
Lindsay Nahmiache is my LinkedIn, and then Jive is the name of the agency, and Veriphy is the name of the skincare company. I'm pretty easy to track down through both of those as well.
Hmm. And all those links will be in the show notes. Before we go for today, what is something you're really excited about challenging yourself or doing in the next 6 months or so?
Oh, my biggest thing for this year is like talking more about this discernment economy. So I think that
Mm.
in a world of AI, like discernment was always this super skill, but now even more than ever, discernment is so important, not just for individuals, but for brands also. It's like the discernment of what not to do, and where to focus and where to put your energy and effort. You know, you can outsource everything to AI, but discernment done from gut intuition, like expertise, that you can't outsource to AI. So really having people and brands lean into that.
Uh, what a great topic. And I'm looking forward to following your content for it. I can't tell you how many times I'm having an AI conversation. I'm like, no, no, going the wrong way. No, it's not what I want. And you try to steer it back. And it's like, nope, now I have to just exit this and delete it and start all over. And then it's like, oh, I'm just leading you, aren't I? I'm not, you're just a good summary tool. So discernment. Okay. Thank you very much, Lindsay. And all those links again will be in the show notes, listeners. And I really appreciated your time today and hope you have a wonderful and beautiful new year.
You too.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Now get out there and live fearlessly.